And we are online. So, hi everyone. Thanks for joining the Futurology Podcast. So, today's point of discussion uh, I really want to discuss this thing for quite a long time. So, this thing is about why questions are far better than answers, right? We are going to talk about that, and also we are going to talk about what are the various principles of philosophies and how they have how they have evolved through the passage of time. So without wasting any further time, so let's begin. And yeah, so speaking about the evolution of philosophy, the thought process of analysis, the thought process of belief system. So first was quite a long year ago, quite a long time ago, back in the days, back in the days of old West. I'm not even talking about the old West, wild West or something like that. I'm talking about the very old days of the old civilization, like ancient India, ancient Greek, ancient China, and ancient Egypt, and whatsoever. So during that time, there were philosophers, right? People, and even couple hundreds years ago, there were philosophers. So these philosophers have a strong belief system that they could write about some aspects of divinity. Let's say we are talking about divinity, we are talking about the God, we are talking about the mysticism, if you will. Yeah, so these are the belief system, right? So if you believe in God, you're called as theist, right? Or this particular type of belief system is called as theism. And if you don't believe in God, so you'll be named as atheist, or this particular type of belief system is called as atheism. So, and if you think that you are an atheist or not, so it is not only your generation. These philosophies are there. It was always there since the birth of modern civilization, right? So that's kind of quite intriguing to know that the things which we believe today or we know today are more or less the same things that we used to debate or used to feel or used to experience back in the days. So nothing really changed from that aspect, if you think like that. So by the way, spoiler alerts, a lot of things have been changed, so that will come later. So we are talking about the theism way of believing things and atheism way of believing things, right? Now these theisms and atheism philosophies have always on the opposite side of the spectrum of belief system. One believes and one assumes that they know everything, and the second one also believes and assumes that he also knows everything, right? But he has, fortunately or unfortunately, has proven that God doesn't exist. And the other side of the spectrum, the theism belief system, they claim that they have proved that God totally exists, right? So they are clear. They have no skepticism or no doubt in their head that either of them are kind of in a volatile or in floating point state, of knowing or not knowing, or maybe questioning the stuff or like that, so they are quite comfortable in believing what they know is true. Understand this. This is very good. This is very peculiar point I'm trying to make towards the entire I'm trying to mirror the entire philosophy of the society from the past to the present and to the future, right? So yeah, I mean, so the problem with both these people that they have presumed something that they know, and that what they know is absolutely right? And this then eventually the birth of third type of philosophy system has evolved, right? So people who neither believe in God nor they believe that the God is completely out of the picture, they are called as agnosticism, right? Agnostic people, right? You might have heard this term somewhere, sometime around. So until unless you have been living under a rock for like 5,000 years or whatever. So this is what I'm trying to say. Agnosticism is kind of a middle ground between these two hardcore groups, two stubborn groups, So agnosticism are basically the moderator, if you will, if a debate has to be hosted between between theist and atheist people. So these agnosticism belief system, or the agnostic people, would actually host the debate between these two stubborn groups, right? So I'm not saying that agnosticism is the perfect answer, because agnosticism also presumes that they know something that neither atheist or theist people know, right? Try and understand that there is some kind of a gray area when you're saying agnosticism. You're not completely curious about you're not completely violating that universe or the multiverse has been made by God, and you're not also denying the fact that there could be God. So it is kind of a middle ground, if you will, but I'll tell you what the flaw in this philosophy also. So coming to the modern era came new, or I would rather put like this. So coming to the modern era evolved a new belief system in the philosophy. So that is the modern way of philosophy. That way of philosophy is called as neither atheism, theism, agnosticism. Now it is called as skepticism. Repeat after me: skepticism. So that means a person who is a skeptic about believing at all is actually a skeptic person, or he is a follower of skepticism. So a skeptic person never believes and never presumes anything upfront, right? Until he proves, or until the theory gets published in a scientific manner, and it can be proved in multiple areas, it can be replicated without any errors, and all the science community people came to the same conclusion, then we call it a theory, or we call it a law, if experiments also shows the same consistency. If single paper or single experiment went berserk, it will never be qualified as a theory or become a law ultimately. So all the science, the philosophy behind science is skepticism. Try and understand this point, because somehow due to because India and other Eastern Asian countries have been left out from the industrial revolution, and when these great thinkers were actually coming together and having all sort of debates and all. So we used to have these kind of debates, but back in 2000 years, back in Maurya Raj, Maurya Kingdom, Maurya Empire, or Gupta Empire, stuff like that was the golden period of golden era of India, if you will. So somehow our Eastern society has lost an edge in its thinking process. So we don't really appreciate how good the evolution of our philosophy has been like, right? From theism to atheism to agnosticism to skepticism. So when I call skepticism, this gave new ideas and new way to look the reality. And what is the result of it? The result of it is what you're seeing right now: cloud computing, internet, electronics, electrical machines, flying objects, flying airplanes, ballistic missiles, nuclear energy. The list goes on. So this particular era, especially the millennium, if I'm not talking about the century itself, because century comprises of 100 years. A millennia, however, comprises of 1,000 years, right? So if I'll say a millennia, I'm referring from either 1000 to 2000, or 0 AD to 1000 AD, or 2000 AD to 3000 AD, right? So this is what we are living in. The third millennium, right, is a very peculiar and very interesting one. I'll tell you after some time, probably in the next video, right? So I'm just getting you to that vibrations and to that harmonics, so that we can resonate together when we speak about the next set of equations and next set of thoughts that ultimately I wanted to express through this channel, right, through this podcast or whatever. So you understand the evolution of philosophies and how it has been like. So always the question are always better than answers. So while you believe something, that means you have already assumed something in the first place. So that means the constant is always there, right? You're not able to think beyond that. So it always fog your cognition, your cognitive power, your pure intellect or pure intelligence, right, to ultimately cherish and blossom in while you are understanding the laws of the nature, or while you are unraveling the secrets of the cosmos or the universe or the multiverse or whatever it is. So always try to question, right? If even if you think the question is as silly as whatever you can think of, right? You whether you are in the class, or whether you are with someone, whether you have a philosophical discussion, whether you are in a society or generally discussing with your friends, always try to bring more questions than answers, because a question always keep you in a learning status, right? So that you'll always be grounded to the reality that how much it is that you don't even understand, and it will keep you moving further, and keep you pursued the secrets that you still are not are not able to understand, but someday. Yeah, so with that, I would like to conclude this podcast. Thanks for joining, and you have a great day, my friend.